Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you my second day of the review for 7 Kings of the Land. Today we're going to be talking about darkness cards, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. So our ruler, our one darkness ruler, we technically have a darkness J ruler, but we'll get to that later. Our one darkness ruler is Rezard, the Undead Lord, right here. Deactivate a pay 2 black. You can also pay 2 black to put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. So very, very interesting, like self-milling kind of thing. But when he flips, he's got Imperishable by himself. That's pretty cool. He's a 5/5. That's okay. And then when this card enters your field, you may put up to 2 cards from your hand into your chance standby zone face down. And this card gains +2/+2 for every card in your chance standby area. So he kind of loads the almost not quite the graveyard in the sense of the theme, but he like buries cards to bring them back later, which is pretty interesting. And then his God's Art is March of the Undead. He pays 2 black and 4 of any color. Remove any number of resonators in your graveyard from the game. For each card removed this way, each player banishes a resonator and discards a card. So his whole trick is to load up his spell chance standby area with a lot of stealth resonators, use his God's Art to kind of wipe the board and wipe the hand of both players, and then trigger all of those cards in his spell chance standby area and bring out this huge undead army to kind of just overwhelm his opponent, which is very cool, which is very unique. I think it's very thematic of the fact that he's this kind of like resurrecting vampire. I think that's really awesome. So we'll see how it actually plays out, but I am definitely interested in to see what kind of shenanigans come up with Rezard. Move back up to the top, let's go through the creatures. You have Arthur, the Dead Lord of Vengeance, a zombie. So this is King Arthur being resurrected. It's a 4-drop 1k, 1k. Other Darkness Resonators gain +2/+2, and everything that's not a Darkness Resonator gain -2/-2. And you can remove 3 Resonators in your graveyard from the game and bring him back to your hand from the graveyard. I think it's pretty interesting. Having a creature that also serves as a buff and a field minus is cool for Darkness. It used to be that like your boss monster was Mephistopheles or bust, but now you don't necessarily have to play Mephistopheles to have a heavy hitter in Darkness. So I think that's pretty cool. Dark Purge, a 2-drop spellchant instant. Target J/Resonator gains -6/-6 until the end of the turn. Now it's target J/Resonator, and I think that's what makes this card important, and it's also not damage; it's a stat effect. So very, very interesting. I think it can be served as spot removal, and it can be served as kind of weakening a J ruler to be able to kill it. So that's pretty something to kind of keep in mind. Then we have Endless Night, 3-drop spell job instant. Destroy target resonator your opponent controls, and all resonators gain -2/-2 until the end of the turn. This is like stoning to death and then some. Like it costs a little bit more. And it just provides a minus to everything. But if you think about it, if you already have Arthur, the Dead Lord of Vengeance on field, and everything's darkness, with Endless Night, you essentially just reset all of your resonators back to their original attack for the turn, and give all your opponent's resonators -4/-4. So you could potentially, with these two, do a full field wipe for 3, like based on the strength of his creatures. So I think that's pretty awesome. Forbidden Spell of the Undead Lord, 4-drop. So its effect is put target resonator from your graveyard into your hand, then put a Darkness Resonator with total cost 3 or less from your hand into the field. So bringing stuff back from the grave, putting it back out into the field. So that kind of recycling thing, recurrence from the graveyard. Darkness is getting more of those effects, and I really like that a lot. But its other thing is Remnant. You can play this card from your graveyard. If you do, remove it from the game instead of putting it anywhere else after it would leave the chase. So these are some very interesting spells that are coming out that, even if they get milled by different effects or used once, you can use them again, which I think is very, very cool. Makes it so like you're not as scared to, I think especially for Darkness with Rezard, makes it so you're not as scared to mill your own cards to the grave, because you still have access to these kind of spells, even if they get milled or discarded. Herald of the Undead Lord, 2-drop, 5/5. It is a vampire. Its stealth trigger is if your ruler is Rezard the Undead Lord or Rezard the Desecrating Vampire. That's it. That's its only trigger. It's just you have to have Rezard. The other thing to note about stealth, has been ruled that a resonator with stealth that has been put into the stud spell chant standby zone, as long as its trigger is met, can be put onto the field the same turn that it's put face down. It's not a spell chant standby spell card, so it doesn't have that same requirement. So again, with that idea of he puts he puts things face down, blows everything up with his God's Art, and then suddenly, bam, brings all of the stuff back out onto the field. This is something that kind of fuels that. Hunter of Souls, 3-drop, Reaper, 7/7. When a Resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, this card deals 200 damage to your opponent, and you gain 200 life. So this is like mini Vlad. It's like Seth the Arbiter meets Vlad Tempest. So like, if you keep killing your opponent's creatures, you're going to keep getting that kind of life switch. I think that's very interesting. I think that serves to like darkness spot removal control really, really well, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. Merlin, the Wizard of Distress, 3-drop zombie, 6/6, with stealth, and its stealth trigger is when your opponent discards a card while you control a Darkness Magic Stone. So like, have a Darkness Magic Stone, force your opponent to discard a card, no big deal, stealth trigger. When this card enters your field from the spell chant standby area, target Resonator your opponent controls gains -7/-7 until the end of the turn. That's crazy. You're never going to hardcast Merlin, pretty much, because he only gets his effect with you, and he's a 6/6 for 3, but you're going to stealth him a lot. And the fact that you just give something -7/-7 is ridiculous. I mean, that can kill a lot, or at least put the final touches on something to really finish them off. So, very interesting card. Necromancy of the Undead Lord, 1-drop addition Resonator. Added Resonator becomes a zombie as well. It gets +2/+2, and whenever a Resonator enters your field, you can add this card from your graveyard to that Resonator. So like, this is going to keep coming back. So like, if it gets destroyed, you play a Resonator, just pop this up onto it for free. I mean, having that free 200 buff can make all the difference. So I think that's very, very cool. Again, recurrence from the graveyard, something that Darkness is supposed to be able to do. Now it's actually finally getting the effects. Niflheim, the Realm of the Dead, addition field, zombies gain +2/+2, and you can banish this card to put the top 5 cards of your main deck into the graveyard. So again, milling it to the grave. We're seeing more of that kind of theme come out, and I think that's pretty cool. Our super rare, Persephone the Nether Empress. I think also Arthur is one of the super rares, but Persephone the Nether Empress, 4-drop, 7/7, stealth. If your ruler is Rezard, or your J ruler is Rezard or Rezard, and you have 10 or more cards in your graveyard, and then when this card enters your field from standby area, put target Resonator with total cost 4 or less from your graveyard into your field. So, yes, let me point this out. You load up your graveyard a crap ton. You put her down for 2. You flip her over. You get a creature. You suddenly go total thing 4 or less. Haha, Darkness card. I put an Arthur in there earlier. Bam. You bring Arthur out onto the field from your grave for free. Suddenly he's a 1k, everything's -2/-2, and Persephone is a 9/9. So essentially, for a 2-drop, you got a 9/9, a 10/10, and a -2/-2 to all of your opponent's Resonators if they're not playing Darkness. That's really good for Darkness. That's a really big tempo play. I think that's really powerful. I'm really excited about that kind of stuff, especially if if you also have, and then you can just follow it up with an Endless Night and just board wipe. Like really, really good. For essentially, you can do a full board wipe while still having creatures for 5. Like, wow, that's a really powerful play. I'm excited to see kind of how that all plays out. Very, very excited. 1-drop, 3/3 zombie, Prowler of Niflheim. When this card enters your field, put the top 2 cards of your main deck in your graveyard. So, even for the beginning, you have a 1-drop to be able to start milling your deck. I think that, again, it speaks to the fact that Rezard wants to mill, and a lot of Darkness cards want to mill, so that's pretty cool. And it's nice to have a dark 1-drop that isn't like just a plain vanilla, finally, or Romeo. Ugh. Okay, we got Scion of Ancient Lore, 3-drop vampire. Look at that guy, he's just, the art on that is pretty sick. When this card enters your field, it deals 200 damage to your opponent, and you gain 400 life. So it's a good body for the cost, 7/7, and it also gives you a quick little life swing. 400 damage to your opponent, 400 life for you. I think that's really, really cool. It's a little quick jab to your opponent that can be really good in mid-range vampires. And again, it's when this card enters your field, so it's when it comes in from anywhere. I really like that a lot. Moving on, we have Soul Hunt. It's a 1 black spell chant. Each player banishes a resonator, then each player discards a card. A lot of people are saying that this card is awful. It's not. It's really, really not. Especially when you're considering that Rezard wants to load up his graveyard anyway. You have Merlin, who wants your opponent to discard cards in order to trigger. And we have cards like Mozart and Rasputin for incarnate shenanigans. So think about it this way. Say I have a Mozart and something else on the field, and my opponent has 2 resonators on the field and cards in their hand, and I have a Merlin, in my graveyard. Even better, let's say I just have Mozart, my opponent has 3 creatures on field, and I have a Merlin in the face down area. For a 1-drop, I play Soul Hunt. I discard a card of my choice, no big deal. Doesn't really matter at that point. I then banish my Mozart. Okay, he's banished one of his things. That puts me at 0 resonators. He discarded a card, and he has lost a resonator of himself. Then Mozart's going to trigger, and they're going to have to pick something. So Mozart's going to trigger, and they're going to have to pick something to get rid of. So that's 2 of their resonators down. Then Merlin triggers, comes out, and gives something -7/-7, potentially targeting their last resonator, which at that point might be dead because of that much damage. So for a 1, I board wiped. For Darkness to be able to board wipe for 1, this card is good. Like, this card is going to be a card to watch out for. And the fact that it's a common is nuts. So I'm very, very excited. It even says the word sacrifice means gain for the Undead Lord. I mean, that speaks to exactly what this is about. It's all about kind of setting up little mini combos to just mess with your opponent, even though you're discarding and stuff, and loading up your own graveyard so Rezard can do what he wants later. It's a very powerful card. Soulless Soldier, 2-drop zombie. Again, when this card enters your field, top 2 cards of your main deck in your graveyard. So it's the next progression. It's a 6/5 mill 2. Again, loading up that graveyard with the tempo of putting resonators on field. I like the fact that this is a body, and that it does too, so that you don't have to feel like you have to pay for Rezard's mill 2 effect. I like the fact that we're getting lots of resonators that are going to help with that, so you don't always have to rely on Rezard for it. And you can, focus on still maintaining tempo. So I really like that a lot. Then we have Underground Dragger. Resonator Zombie, also has stealth. You control a Darkness Magic Stone, and a Resonator was put into a graveyard from your field this turn. When this card enters your field, destroy target Resonator your opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. So this is interesting. for me. It's a 7/7 3-drop, so that's pretty solid. This card is like a defensive card, almost. It says, okay, well, I'm going to block your guy with one of my little tiny dudes. Trigger Underground Dragger, pop up Underground Dragger, and kill your dude that just killed my dude. I think that's a very good, like, tempo play. It's almost like Darkness is kind of having tempo abilities with all of these stealth resonators. So very interesting. Definitely not for aggressive plays. So like it could work with Soul Hunt, but if you're doing it like early, then nothing your opponent has taken damage. So Underground Dragger is not going to do anything. But still, I like this card a lot because it allows you to be on the defense and the offense with your spell chance standbys or your stealth resonators. So I'm very excited about that. I know you see Blazer right here. We're not going to talk about him until we talk about Fire, just because I think it's more. He's obviously clearly more of a fire card, but there he is for you. So there you have it, guys. Oh right, I also need to talk about the Darkness Regalia. It's still a void card, but Death Scythe the Life Reaper. Your opponent's J/Ruler or J Ruler loses and cannot gain Imperishable and Swiftness. Okay, so Bahamut's no longer a problem, really, and just the fact that they just can't gain it ever is crazy. Tap, your J Ruler gains +2 and +2, but if it's Rezard, it gains whenever a Resonator that was dealt damage by this card this turn is put into a graveyard, put it into your field into the end of the turn, and you can pay 1 less to play its God's Art ability this turn. So you can play red-black vampires with, instead of Drac, you play Vlad, or you play Rezard, and just like Duel of Truth stuff, and Vampires and Bloodsucking Impulse, and all those kind of things, and you can start stealing your opponent's stuff. Like, okay, seems really good. I think Vampires definitely got the boost that they needed to become a deck with Rezard and with Death Scythe, and all the other stuff. And then remove 3 cards in your graveyard from the game, put this card from your graveyard into your hand. So you can kind of keep recycling it. Very, very good. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the best Regalia, just because it's like it allows things to kind of slow down to the pace that you need them to be with it. So if other people are using Regalia, you can kind of slow them down a little bit, which I think is good. And reducing the cost of Rezard's God's Art is always good. So yeah, there you go. That is it, guys, for Darkness. Tune in tomorrow, but we will be talking about... I know I said we were going to talk about water today, but we're actually going to talk about water tomorrow, because I've been doing a little more research into Valentina and wanted to be able to talk about her more. So tomorrow we'll be talking about water, and please go ahead and check out the Ruler School playmat Kickstarter. Links on the description, as well as an annotation on the screen. And tell me what you think about these cards, what you're pumped about playing. And until next time, guys, this is DMO73, signing off.